Their photographic accuracy took him at least 6 months each to paint. In fact, they took him so long to paint that he only produced 30 during his lifetime. And when he died at the age of 43, he left his wife and children very badly in debt. He was broke. But Vermeer lived during very exciting times in Holland. In fact, the Dutch still call the 17th century their golden age. And probably the most important scientific development of the time was this: the lens. You could consider the development of the computer as its equivalent today. Of course, lenses themselves weren't new, but their quality improved enormously during the 17th century. And as a result, all sorts of new optical instruments were being developed. The telescope had been invented in Holland, and the microscopist Antony van Leeuwenhoek lived in the same town as Vermeer. But what would Vermeer, who was, after all, an artist, have known about these scientific developments? Well, our guest today has at least some of the answers. Dr. Philip Stedman is the man who's done all the scientific investigation into Vermeer's work. Now, Phil, you believe that Vermeer took advantage of these developments in the 17th century and used a new optical instrument for his work.
That's right. And it's not just me who thinks that. Writers on Vermeer generally think that he used an instrument rather like this, a camera obscura. And this is one I've made myself. It's really very simple. It's just a box with a lens in a tube here at the front. And the lens casts an image on the back of the box. There's a mirror inside which throws it up onto this ground glass screen here. So if we point it at the window, say, we get an image of the window formed here, and an artist would use it by putting a piece of paper over the top and then tracing the picture.
Now, camera obscura is rather an obscure term for something.
Well, it means dark room, and earlier versions of this instrument were exactly that. You had a room, you blacked it out completely, and then you had a little hole, perhaps in a shutter, which formed an image of the scene outside the room on the wall.
So the camera obscura would have been the forerunner of what we now know as the camera.
Exactly right. And the inventors of photography in the 19th century used instruments very like this one, sold for artists to use for sketching. The only real difference being that instead of a sheet of paper for the image at the back here, they used a light-sensitive plate. And it's an instrument of this general kind that I believe Vermeer used when making his paintings.
Nowadays, we take this sort of shot for granted. We're not surprised by the fact that the figure nearer the camera appears much bigger.